This video is brought to you by Straightgoods News, Canada's alternative online news source. Visit Straightgoods.ca.
Let me just say, by prefacing Margaret's remarks, that asbestos, we now know, is the greatest industrial killer the world has ever known. And more Canadians now die from asbestos than all other industrial and occupational causes combined. And yet Canada continues to be one of the largest producers and exporters of asbestos in the world. We have been very critical of this and very publicly criticizing the government for continuing to spend millions of dollars subsidizing the asbestos industry. And a number of recent events have brought this to the forefront once again. First, the only study that the Government of Canada has hung its hat on in defense of the asbestos industry and their policy at McGill University has been called into question. We believe it's been exposed as a fraudulent document. Second, in Italy, there's been a landmark precedent-setting conviction of the asbestos industry principals, charged, tried, and convicted, and sentenced to 16 years in prison, plus 35,000 euros for each victim in that case. We believe in the NDP that the asbestos industry is vulnerable and could be and should be subject to not only massive class action suits, but criminal charges as well, in light of what we now know. The reason Mrs. Buist is with us today is that her husband is a victim of the asbestos industry, and I'm going to let her talk about the postcard campaign that she initiated at her own expense to draw attention to the public's opinion of Canada's policy on asbestos. Margaret.
Thank you. This is my husband, Harry. Harry was diagnosed in February of 1994 and died from mesothelioma in March of 1996. He was very strong emotionally and physically, and it's his strength that has allowed me to continue all these years. 16 years I have been fighting with the labour movement and the Occupational Health Centre Clinic for Ontario Workers. I'm on the local advisory board for them, and my husband just felt he knew that he couldn't help himself, but he wanted to help prevent anybody new in the workplace from being exposed. And unfortunately, these exposures are still happening. They're not as frequent as they were, but they are still happening. My grandson, who is now 16, when he was 7, his sister was talking about Granddad dying. He got old and died. And David immediately said, Granddad did not get old and died. Granddad went to work and got asbestos, and then he died. My grandchildren come to meetings with me if I'm looking after them, and they colour or whatever, and so they know. I really hope I've grown up some safe workers for the future.
Show them your postcard campaign.
Yes. This is the postcard campaign. It's a continuation of a campaign that was started in Sarnia by two sisters whose father also died of mesothelioma. Her postcards went to the Prime Minister and to Joe Oliver. And after we had this very successful walk, I didn't want to lose any traction in our fight, because Quebec announced that they were delaying the announcement of the $58 million to reopen the asbestos mines till Christmas time. Now, since then, it's been delayed and delayed, and now I really hope there's going to be delayed forever. It's not going to happen.